The fax arrived at Bank of America on December 19, 2003. It was supposed to confirm one thing, that Parmalat, Europe's dairy giant, held $4.9 billion in a Cayman Islands account, a routine verification, something done 1,000 times. The bank replied the same day. The account did not exist. It had never existed. And in that single moment, the largest corporate fraud in European history began to unravel. Parmalat. You knew the name before you knew it. The little red and white carton, the smiling sun on the logo, milk that didn't need refrigeration, shipped to 60 countries, stacked in kitchens from Milan to Buenos Aires. By 2003, it was a $9 billion revenue company, a household name, an Italian institution, and behind all of it stood one man, Calisto Tanzi, born in Collecchio, a small town in the Parma region of northern Italy, on November 17th, 1938. He was 23 years old when he founded the company in 1961 with a small pasteurization plant and a loan from his family. He was not flashy. He did not appear in gossip columns. He wore plain suits and spoke quietly and gave generously to the local Catholic diocese. In Parma, they called him a son of the region. They meant it as a compliment. He built something real at first. The long-life milk technology was genuine. The international expansion was aggressive but disciplined. By the 1980s, Parmalat was in Latin America, Eastern Europe, South Africa. Tanzi bought sports teams, Parma Calcio, a cycling squad, and the people of Parma loved him more for it. He was not just a businessman, he was a patron, a provider, the kind of man a town builds a statue for. The problem was that the growth never quite paid for itself. Acquisitions cost money, sponsorships cost money, and Tanzi had a habit of quietly funneling company funds into side ventures, a tourism company called Parma Tour, personally controlled, chronically losing. By the mid-1990s, the gap between what Parmalat earned and what it owed was becoming something no quarterly report could fix, so he fixed the quarterly reports instead. The mechanism was almost elegant in its ugliness. Parmalat's CFO, Fausto Tonna, constructed a web of offshore entities, shell companies in the Cayman Islands, Luxembourg, the British Virgin Islands, that existed solely to absorb invented assets and fabricated revenues, fake bond issues, phantom receivables, intercompany transactions that looped back into themselves like a snake swallowing its own tail. Auditors from Grant Thornton and Deloitte signed off on financials that, if anyone had looked closely, described a company operating in a parallel reality. By 2003, the whole was $18.2 billion. $18 billion, not missing, not misplaced, invented. A number typed into spreadsheets and wired across audit reports and handed to bondholders across Europe and America who believed they were holding paper backed by real assets. Pension funds, retail investors, Italian families who had trusted the man from Parma because their parents had trusted him. Tanzi knew it was ending before the facts. In November 2003, Parmalat had quietly missed a $185 million bond payment. The story reached the Italian financial press. The stock dropped. Bankers started asking questions they had not asked before. Tanzi flew to New York and met with Citigroup executives, apparently to discuss emergency refinancing. The meeting went nowhere. He flew home. On December 27, 2003, 8 days after the Bank of America fax, Calisto Tanzi walked into the offices of the Bank of Italy in Rome and, in a meeting that lasted several hours, reportedly admitted that the accounts did not exist, that the company had been falsifying records for more than a decade, that billions were simply gone. He was arrested on December 27, 2003. The man who had built Parmalat in a small northern town was taken into custody wearing a grey overcoat and carrying nothing. Within days, 14 executives had been arrested alongside him. Fausto Tonna was among the first. He later told investigators he had been manufacturing fraudulent documents for so long he had stopped thinking of them as lies. They were just numbers, just paper. The collapse hit Europe like a slow explosion. Parmalat's bonds, sold across the continent, became worthless overnight. An estimated 135,000 retail bondholders, ordinary Italians, many of them retirees, lost their savings. The total investor loss exceeded $10 billion. Banks, including Citigroup, Deutsche Bank, and UBS, faced civil suits alleging they had helped structure transactions they knew were fraudulent. Some settled, some fought. None of them gave the money back. The Italian government appointed Enrico Bondi as extraordinary administrator to salvage what could be saved. Bondi spent years pursuing lawsuits against the banks and auditors who had enabled the fraud. He would eventually recover several $1 billion for creditors, a fraction of what was lost, but more than most victims of frauds this size ever see. The trial of Calisto Tanzi began in 2008. It was long and complicated and produced the kind of testimony that financial crime trials always produce. Men in suits explaining structures so deliberately obscure that jurors struggled to follow the thread. On December 9th, 2010, Tanzi was convicted of market rigging, criminal association, and false corporate communications. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Later proceedings added more charges. His final consolidated sentence reached 17 years and 3 months. He served part of it. Age and illness meant that much of his sentence was served under house arrest. He died on December 9th, 2022, exactly 12 years to the day after his first conviction. He was 83 years old. Whether Parma mourned him or not, no one made much noise about it. Fausto Tonna received 9 years and 8 months. Other executives received sentences ranging from 4 to 10 years. The auditors were fined. The banks paid settlements they did not admit to. The bondholders received partial compensation from a government fund established after the collapse. Cents on the euro, delivered years late. The Parmalat factory in Calisto still operates today. The brand survived. It was acquired by the French dairy group Lactalis in 2011 and continues to sell long-life milk across the world. You can still buy a carton in a supermarket and never think about any of this. That is perhaps the strangest thing of all. The product outlasted the crime. The logo survived the lie. But 135,000 people do not get their savings back. An auditor who signed a document he did not verify still signed it. A bank that structured a transaction it knew was suspicious still took its fee. And a man from a small town in northern Italy spent 40 years building something real, then spent another decade